Good morning, everybody. How are we? If you were like me, you were packing your bag last night like the first day of school. This is the first time I've been out from home for many, many months. I'd like to speak this morning about open source intelligence gathering, OSINT, and how we use it as an investigative and preventative tool. And right off the blocks, if you're not familiar with OSINT, I guarantee you kind of are, because we've all done it. So the first slide we'll jump into, use this thing. Open source intelligence gathering, what is it? Well, there is a very handy definition provided by the US government, but I want to draw some things out from this definition. It's unclassified information. It's obtained from publicly available sources. It's produced without using sensitive sources or methods. It's produced in a timely manner for an appropriate audience with specific needs. So those are important aspects to pull out there. It's unclassified, it's readily available. We're not using any fancy tools, techniques. We're not using any clandestine methods to get it. It's stuff that people leave out there as a course of their going about their day. OSINT falls into two categories, active and passive. Active open source intelligence gathering is where you're getting into like social engineering, or you're maybe creating personas in Facebook or in WhatsApp to infiltrate groups, to find out information, and then you begin engaging people in conversations. That's active, and it's a lot more tricky. It's a lot more involved, a lot more time-consuming, because it's difficult to maintain that credible persona for a long period of time. The OSINT that we're going to talk about today is passive open source intelligence gathering, which is just looking to see what people have carelessly left behind on social media platforms or online. And there's this quote from Ram Dass: the quieter you become, the more you're able to hear. And I kind of like that, because I like the idea of being able to look up information without really letting people know that I'm looking up information on them. My kids don't like that, but that's kind of where I like to go with it. There's another quote that isn't necessarily attributed to open source intelligence gathering. The great Forrest Gump said, "Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get." And open source intelligence gathering is a bit like that as well. You never really know what you're going to get when you start looking for information online. The process is very straightforward. It's a process of evaluation and of feedback. What am I trying to accomplish? What does it mean? Does it take me into other areas? And so you end up in this loop of planning, collection, processing, analyzing, and integrating the information you found into your considerations again. You're really trying to answer four things. You're trying to answer the who, what, when, and where. We really can't answer the why at this stage, because now you're getting into people's motives, and motives is, to address motives, you have to move more into active or human intelligence gathering. And we're not really addressing the how either, because the how is more, now you're getting more into like incident response and dealing with the actual technology that's used to conduct this stuff. So we're going to look just at addressing the who, the what, the when, and the where. And obviously there are some guide rails that have to be put in place. Now, I work for an American company based here in Northern Ireland. There are several American companies based in Northern Ireland. The work that I engage in is in the American market. So I have to be aware of the American legal system as it pertains to privacy. And historically, a person's rights were pretty much governed by the Fourth Amendment, right to the right to the protecting you from illegal searches and so forth. And then you have the Electronic Crimes Privacy Act, or the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, excuse me, that sets guidelines in place about how law enforcement can gather information. Recently, the California Consumer Privacy Act moved into a different realm, and now we're dealing with protection, and specifically people's right to be forgotten. It's not a new concept. Here in the UK and in Europe, they've had the general data protection regulations in place for some time. And there are, this is kind of just like a one-slide introduction to how OSINT and GDPR interact. We have to have a legal basis for conducting our open source intelligence investigations. We also have to be aware of what the subject's rights are, and specifically the subject has a right to be forgotten. So that means that if a person has contacted Facebook, for example, or a site that they've used, maybe had a profile on, and they've taken that down, we really can't get that back without specific law enforcement intervention. Thirdly, we have to be aware of the rules of engagement. What are we allowed to do? More specifically, what are we not allowed to do? Because we really can't cross that line. We're not law enforcement. I'm not law enforcement. So anything that I do has to fall into regulations with what law enforcement will permit. And so to do that, you really have to work closely with your respective legal departments. And then lastly, we have to understand our role as open source intelligence gatherers. There are two roles defined by GDPR, the data protector, the data controller and the data processor. The controller is the entity that determines the relevance of the information. So that's where HR, that's where legal would come in within your organization. The processor is the person who's actually doing the collecting. So the collector, the processor, would feed that information to the controller, and that's largely the process that's in play. What I'm going to do is spend some time talking about how we used in our company open source intelligence gathering to actually identify somebody from really scant information. Now, I work in the insurance industry, and in the States, everything is done by phone number, and so this is our company's phone number, 1-800-255-7828. 1-800 numbers, 888-866. There's a range of numbers that are defined as toll-free numbers, and anybody can apply for a toll-free number. This particular scammer applied for one that was one digit off from our company's toll-free number. And if you look where 2 and 5 are on the keypad, they're very close to each other. This is a misdial setup. So the scammer, the fraudster in this case, is using people's carelessness to misdial a phone number to then basically establish that contact. And what are they doing whenever someone misdials that number and calls this 225 number? Well, the scammer is then offering them a range of things. They're trying to get personal information. They're trying to get they're identifying themselves as the insurance company. They're trying to get payment representing themselves as the insurance company, and also they're promising this $200 Visa gift card from the company as an incentive to give the information over. The scammers, this individual also had created a fairly plausible dialogue or narrative based around COVID-19 to pretty much promote his efforts. And that's really all I know. I have a phone number. It's a misdialed number. It's 1-800-225-7828. What I do know from this, as I said, it's a toll-free number. And so there is a registry in the US called SOMOS. Now, phone numbers in the US you can look them up on white pages and so forth, unless they're toll-free numbers. There are no directories for toll-free numbers in the United States. SOMOS, however, has a link into the agency that controls toll-free numbers, and what they will tell you is this number available? It's a yes or no. And if it's not available, they'll say that you'll say, well, the number's assigned to this group or to this phone number. And a lot of times you kind of have to track the number back. So you would get, if I put a toll-free number in here and it says, no, the number's not available, it's assigned to this toll-free number, I'll take that and put it into SOMOS and see where that goes. So you're just following that trail. In this case, a company called Vanity International owned this phone number, this 225-7828 phone number. And now I have two new pieces of information here. Now I have a company name, Vanity International, and I also have a contact number, 858-792-5000. Now that is not a toll-free number. So now I have two credible pieces of information that I can begin to then find out what will these pieces of chocolate lead to. So first thing I did was I searched for Vanity International. I use a search engine called DuckDuckGo. And I use DuckDuckGo because it values your privacy. It does not maintain tracking. Google and Bing will maintain tracking on your searches because they want to know how they can best tailor your ads, for example. DuckDuckGo does not track in any way. So I use DuckDuckGo, Vanity International, and here I get a nice website, tollfreemarket.com/about-us. So now I've got some nice information and a website about who Vanity International really is. So I go to the website, and there's a picture, there's more phone numbers, there's a tagline, all roads lead to you. And then at the bottom here, there was a summit held in Chicago 2009. So now I have more information. Now I've got a tagline. I've got a name here. You can email Loren Stocker and an email address, Loren at t800.net or Loren at tollfreemarket.com. So great, now I've got a name, Loren Stocker. Who the heck is Loren Stocker? This is so I use another search tool, this one's specifically for people. And in the US, there are dozens of people searching tools. They used to be free. Now, unfortunately, they're being bought over by Intellius and so forth. But some of them, what I found with the work that I do is if I use 2 or 3 in conjunction with each other, I can get free information from this one and free information from this one. And then you just begin to look at the overlap to see, okay, what are they giving me in common and what's new information? So you begin, if you use 2 or 3 of these free options, you can begin to get some credible information. So I use this site called Spokio.com. I put the name in Loren Stocker, and I got several hits. You can see them all peppered across the US there, but one in particular stuck out. Loren C. Stocker, 67, lives in San Diego, resides in Del Mar, California, and we're going to park that information for now because remember I found that phone number. We're going to see how they merge together later. So if I looked into a little bit more information, again, this was all free information provided from Spokio. Now I have a P.O. box number. P.O. boxes stands for post office box, and so if you in the U.S. The post offices will have these little shelves, these little cubbies that are lockable, and people will use those as drop boxes for their businesses. So this individual has a post office box at this zip code in Del Mar, California. And we'll just go on to the next one. So. Still looking, so now I'm looking at Loren Stocker, and I'm focusing on Del Mar, California. And now, again, from this time I'm using ZabaSearch. ZabaSearch is another, it initially started off as a free search engine for people. And basically what these search engines do is they pull public records. In America, if you pay your electricity bill, you pay your phone bill, you pay whatever, all that goes into the public record. And ZabaSearch and Spokio, they pull that public information to basically generate a database. So from ZabaSearch, I get 2 new addresses. I get this address in Ruet Aliante in San Diego, and another address in Cordova Street in San Diego. Again, if I check the age there, Loren C. Stocker, age 66, that's consistent with what I had before. And look down here at the bottom. This Cordova Street, San Diego, that's the same number, 858-792-5000. So that correlates with what I found on the tollfreenumbers.com website. So let's talk about American phone number systems. And it's not just US-based, but because there are 23 other countries that use this phone number-based structure. You've seen it all, it's number in brackets, and then 3 more numbers, and then a hyphen and 4 numbers. Well, historically, that was based on how the old Ma Bell and Pac Bell and the old phone exchanges worked. So you would have the first 3 digits are the area code. The next 3 refer to the exchange. And again, that's where it goes back to historically to the Pacific Bells, the Ma Bells, the American telecoms and so forth. Now that in this age of digital phones, the exchanges and the cell phones, the exchanges are maybe not as clearly defined. And then the last is the last four refer to the actual number themselves. But that numbering is important, because if I put that phone number, 858-792-5000, into this site here, terracodes.com, it'll tell me 858-792 is in the Del Mar, California area, okay? And that's a PAC Bell or Pacific Bell phone exchange. So that tells me that that's a landline in the Del Mar, California area, which again correlates back to the addresses that I found for Loren Stocker. So from my toll-free number, I'm getting quite a bit of information. I go to Google now, and I put in the addresses that I found. I put in P.O. Box 2004, and Google gives me this nice box that says that's where it is, and it's clearly indicated as a U.S. post office. But then over here in the corner, there's a little another flag for Vanity International that Google Maps gives me. So now I've got a street location for Vanity International, because all I have to do then is just put my little Google man for Street View on there, and I can begin to see what that street front looks like. So I've identified the address. I've got a clear image of the location. I've got phone numbers. Let's look at Mr. Stocker himself. All I know about Mr. Stocker is this image that was on his webpage. If I looked at the source code tells me that that image is called Loren.jpg. So it could be assumed that that picture is Mr. Stocker, but I can't make, I need something a bit more conclusive than that. So I Googled for Loren Stocker, and I look in the images folder, and then lo and behold, I've got some faces that begin to look very much like him. Of interest here, on like 5th across on the top row and then 3rd across on the middle row, are people with name badges. And so I want to look at those. And there, from Google Images, I have a nice clear picture of Mr. Stocker on the right. He's done me the courtesy of hanging his name around his neck, so I know exactly which one he is. And then the source that this picture came from is tollfreemarket.com, and from the gallery summit. So I could put that address into my search bar and pull up all those images, and I've done that. I've pulled up all the images from that gallery to verify that this image is from that location. Now, if I needed to know more information about Mr. Stocker, I could use a database, a site called Crunchbase, and Crunchbase provides. It's a little bit stale in some cases, but it has information on their educational background and other areas. So this could be useful if I wanted to maybe check on somebody's credentials, if somebody is maybe applying for work and maybe has, there's some concerns that maybe they've padded their resume in some way. And then I also found interesting that Mr. Stocker also has a Twitter handle. So his Twitter handle is @softline. The interesting thing here is that he's not active on Twitter. I know that this is his site because the link goes to tollfreemarket.com. It's in San Diego, California. So the indications are very strong that this was at one point a Twitter site that he had set up and is no longer using. So from my 1-800 number, all I had was a 1-800 toll number. I've been able to find the name of a business, the address of the business, the physical address of the business phone number from a landline, Mr. Stocker's personal address. Now, in that personal address information from Spokio, I also got information about his wife and his kids. That's that could be useful, if I'm investigating like an insurance matter, and I want to see if somebody who has a name on a policy, are they related to these people? I could look them up in Spokio to see if there is a physical relationship with them. I've got Mr. Stocker's personal phone number now, and was able to verify a lot of the information from Spokio and from ZabaSearch. That was all freely available information. I didn't have to use anything other than Google, DuckDuckGo, and freely available people search people search database tools. You could do the same thing on Facebook. You could do the same thing on WhatsApp, Instagram, any of the social media platforms. People are careless. It seems the younger they get, the more they're willing to overshare sometimes. And so I'm merely just exploiting people's carelessness at this point and gathering the information that they're leaving lying around. That's how I would do it investigatively. Now, how would I use OSINT in a preventative manner? Why would I want to use OSINT preventively? Well, maybe I want to look for data leaks in my company. Maybe I want to improve the security posture of my company. Maybe I want to protect the identity of my developers, of some of the processes that I have. Maybe I want to minimize exposure to legal action. So where in investigative OSINT, the question is, what can I learn from public information about somebody else? When we think about preventative OSINT, the question is, what can someone else learn from public information about me? So, in December of last year and early this year, some cyber criminals were targeting the auto industry. And what they would do is they would take a valid name. Again, this is targeted in the States. They would take a valid name and use any birthday and any address. Go to an insurance company and say, I'd like to apply for car insurance, please. The insurance companies, the drive is to enhance the customer experience, and so they're going to do whatever they can to get people a car insurance card quickly so that they can get that business. So what was happening was the insurance companies were issuing preliminary cards that had more information on it than was what was requested. The scammers would take that information, strip from it the driver's license number, sometimes the VIN number if that was provided, and then they would abandon the quote. Now, why is that important? Is because, well, with the driver's license number in the States, now I can apply for other means of identification. Now I can apply to potentially take out a loan or potentially take over someone's account at a bank. If I have that driver's license information, that's kind of a big deal. How are these guys doing it? Well, there were a number of methods that they were following. They were extracting, in some cases, unredacted information was provided in the HTML code, which is a big problem. If the information was being protected, they would use developer tools to try to circumvent that protection, to try to circumvent that obfuscation. In Google, in Chrome and in Edge and so forth, there are developer tools built into the websites. And the hackers would use this sometimes, or the scammers would use this sometimes to look under the hood of the HTML coding to see what was not being presented. Where was information being pulled from? What were the sources being used to pull from to then present it? And then they would try to, let's say, for example, a page was using Experian to get information. Well, would the scammer have information on how to access information directly from Experian? So he would go and get it from there. Sometimes they would use stolen money, and they would purchase a policy, or they would use stolen credit card credentials, purchase a policy, and that would give them two things. It would give them information about the policy, and it would also give them an understanding of how the insurance company worked and what format they would then provide information for subsequent use. So that was, and then obviously because it's stolen money or because it's not their money, they really don't care about the payment. And then lastly, for this page, they would, in some cases, socially engineer information from insurance agents. It's kind of a brazen move, but by social engineering, I mean you would gain someone's trust through just basically through interaction. So, I mean, for example, if I'm talking to an agent on the phone, I could pretend to have a screaming baby in the background, because on YouTube you can pull up a video with audio of a screaming baby. So I would have that playing in the background, and I'd be explaining to the person on the phone that, I'm sorry, I really don't have a whole lot of time. My wife has gone out to the store. She left 2 hours ago. She said she'll only be 30 minutes. The baby is inconsolable. Can you just help me out here? And a lot of times, because people on the phone want to help, they're going to begin to cut corners. And so that's where social engineering can be used to get information. The other method that was being used to get this driver's license information was there would be playbooks. There are playbooks available on the dark web, and the dark web is a completely different topic for a completely different time. But those playbooks are very helpful to anybody who wants to get a driver's license number, wants to know how to steal them, wants to know where to find them to look to steal them, and wants to know how to share them. So those, as they say, sharing is caring, and so the scammers are very quick to, if I come across a new way of doing something, they're going to share the wealth. Obviously, for a profit, they're not going to give this stuff up for free. But if I can document how I've successfully been able to get information, and I can make a bit more coin off of it, then I'll put it up and then share that out, and then people will pay me for it. So whenever we're looking at using OSINT defensively, we need to look at what is my company providing as a matter of course, and how can that be used against me? So put your bad guy head on for a minute. Go to your company's website. I want to apply for an insurance policy. What's the process? What do the screens look like? So I click on new policy, and then I'll look at the source code. What's the source code saying? Where's it getting information from? What is this Java? What script is going to run from this button if I click it? So you really have to be curious, and that's the whole point of defensive OSINT is you're considering the worst case scenario at every step. What am I giving up through this interaction, and what can I do? What steps can I take to prevent losing that information? If your company's using telephones, is it an automated switchboard? One of the things that I've had a lot of success with is you call a company and it says, okay, enter the last name of the person you want to speak to. So I'll start typing, whatever the numbers is for Smith. It's a very common last name, or Jones. I don't care. I don't care if I know who they are. I just want to get a person on the phone, because then I can say, yeah, I was trying to reach Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones, and they sent me through to this number instead. Can you tell me what extension he or she's at? And again, people want to help, so they're going to give me an extension number, or they'll say, yeah, I'm trying to reach Mr. Smith. I didn't catch his first name. Yeah, his name's Barry. Well, now I have a first name, Barry Smith, so I can then look Barry Smith up for that company to see if he's on LinkedIn. So, folks, this is what the bad guys are doing. So this is why we need to look at our own processes to see if that what weaknesses do we have in our phone system, on our websites. Are we using insecure? Are we using the insecure HTTP protocol? Is anything being leaked through insecure web code? You got to work closely with the developers to make sure that your code is secure and that nothing is being left in the clear. And then on social media, and this is where it becomes a fine line. You can heavily curate your social media site to the point that no one will use it. You can aggressively moderate it, but again, in this day and age, in this digital day and age, people will shy away from aggressive moderation. So it's good to at least be aware of what's going on social media. One of the things that if let's say you work for Bob's Burger Company, and Bob's Burger Company has left a trail of disgruntled employees in his wake. Is there a website called Bob's Burger Company's Bad.com or bobsburgersuck.com or something like that? So look for those websites. Look to see what people are writing, because those are the people who have access to grind. Those are the people who may want to try to get information from your legitimate site. That's it, folks. That's all the time I have today. I'm very conscious of sticking to time. So if you have any questions, I'm going to be wandering around in the back there. I appreciate everyone's attention today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks very much.